Alphon and Hannah Moyer. Mikhail Alphon is our head of content strategy, and he is a thought leader in digital marketing and social media marketing space, and he's a syndicated contributor at entrepreneur.com, and one of the coolest guys I know. Today, we're going to be talking about how your company can use content to increase revenues. Super important. Let's start with a bold statement here, okay? The internet forces companies, regardless of size and industry, to be marketers. Mikhail, tell me, do you agree with this statement and why?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with this statement. Every company, regardless of whether you're a mom and pop coffee shop or you're running $100 million, factory, whatever it might be, because the internet is so easily accessible and developing content like videos or audio or even pictures is so easy to do. You can just upload it to any platform. I mean, everybody has to do it and everybody is doing it. So if you're like the one of two people that aren't, like, you're going to lose.
You're left on the outside looking in. Hannah, do you think that companies have a choice whether to be marketers or not?
No. There's a very low barrier to entry, which means it's easy to start a Facebook page or start an Instagram account, and the strategy is a little bit more difficult, but there's really no excuse. You need to provide value. You need to raise the brand awareness for your company. If you think about Taylor Swift, how she took everything off of her, just basically started from scratch on all of her social media profiles, even her Tumblr, and then gradually posting the little snippets. The world went crazy because it's Taylor Swift. And so she has that awareness, and she was building the awareness of dropping her new single in a very social-based way.
Very interesting. So not only developing content, but controlling the distribution of that content. Super powerful.
Definitely.
So the internet's a place for companies to attract people to their company using content, right? They use content to convert those people into customers, and then turning those customers into raving fans using content. Hannah, in your experience, what is the most powerful content formats that companies can use?
I think you need a really cohesive blend of all of it. So video is definitely the top choice, and it should be. It's very engaging. It grabs people's attention on if you're scrolling through Facebook, but there's still value in photos and also in blogging and in copywriting. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I am a copywriter, but especially with infographics. So if you write a blog post and then you have an infographic with some of the key points, and I saw a study from HubSpot that said 178% more inbound links and 72% more views if your article had an infographic and if you advertised it as having that. And so if you have this blend of different types of content, your website will be engaging, your social media will be engaging, and you'll draw people in that way.
Very interesting. So, Mikhail, do you agree with Hannah?
Yeah, I mean, making sure that you have the blend is obviously really important. I wouldn't 100% agree with the fact that, like, video is going to be number one for everybody, right? Because what if you are what if you're, I don't know, a clothing manufacturer, for example? There's ways to make that really cool, but, maybe photos would be better. It just really depends.
Definitely.
But I think with that said, it's just important that, it's important to find out what your audience is really going to respond to the most, and then do more and more of that.
Sure. Now, you had mentioned, Hannah, video content being huge as far as it being engaging, and it's actually the number one thing that people do on the internet is watch video. It takes up the most time of people that spend time on the internet. They're watching video more than they're doing anything. Why do you think that this is happening?
I think it engages you more. And I know, like I said that before, but I think having something that's moving and it kind of grabs your attention more than just a static photo. And it tells a story.
Sure.
Photos can tell a story, copy can tell a story, but a video kind of combines audio and visual, and it just brings it together in a package. You can release it You can have the captions on it for Facebook, and it just ends up really bringing in people's attention.
It seems to be the most immersive sort of content format that you can, as far as immersing yourself in a single message. Now, Mikhail, what advice do you have for our viewer and our listener about their company and how they're looking? What would you tell them if they're looking as they're looking to scale their content marketing operations?
Well, you got to find somebody, for one, who specializes in just doing that. Like, for example, if you're a dental office or something like that, don't have your receptionist manage social media just because they're 20-something female or whatever it might be, right? Make sure that they understand each platform, because that way they're going to be able to create content that actually makes sense on each platform, and even more so, they're just going to understand like what to put out, when to put out, that sort of thing. That's really the biggest thing, is like, don't think that it's just posting. There is strategy behind it. Additionally, there are a lot of online resources, you know what I mean? Like, how to market on social media is a viable Google search.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And a lot of stuff is going to come up, probably some stuff from Replay, to be honest. But yeah, there's a lot of resources to really help you help out with that, and don't be afraid to outsource certain things as well.
Interesting. So, Hannah, what advice would you give to a company who's struggling with writing copy for their content, or just writing content in general?
I think a big part of it, just take a step back. It doesn't need to be an all or nothing. You definitely want it to be high quality. If you can only get out 2 high quality blog posts a month, do that. Don't worry about getting 5 out. If they're going to be shorter, less valuable, oddly written content, you want it to be engaging and you want it to be valuable for the audience. The ultimate goal is to always provide value, because then you'll be top of mind when that customer says, oh, I need a dentist or something like that. They'll be, I heard about this really great dentist. Let's look them up and let's make an appointment. And so when you focus on that value and focus on your strengths of, maybe you're really engaging on camera, focus on video. Try a couple 15, 30-second informational videos. Or if you prefer not to be on video, you can try some blogs and just kind of experiment. It's really find what works for you.
Yeah. That's the thing, is like, if you don't have resources to outsource or hire somebody else, just like Hannah said, find out what you're comfortable doing, and whatever you can do do it often and consistently.
Interesting. So how can a company use content in order to build awareness about their company and what they do and what they offer and what they're about?
Well, the first things first is, like, the content that they're creating, you have to remember that you have to distribute it as well. Replay started as a video production company, right? How many times have you heard, like, oh, we have the video, now what? Well, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's blah, 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 whatever you want to put it out there. So take all of the content that you have and make sure to distribute it on the channels that make sense.
Interesting. So, as far as, the channel really does matter.
Or rather customizing it to the channel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And so creating the content format that's most consumable on that platform.
Right.
Gotcha. And so, how can a company use content? Creating content is great, but obviously companies are interested in how they can grow and they can scale, and that starts with generating leads. So how can a company use content to generate leads?
I think it really comes to being top of mind, like I mentioned earlier, and then also creating gated content. So again, let's go back to the dentist. So it's 6 ways to help your children grow up with healthy teeth. And then you ask for their first name and their email address, and you put that the email gate on that. They get the content. You now have their email because they opted in. So you have their permission to email you, and you kind of gradually draw them in a little bit, and you keep feeding them content, and you want to serve valuable material for them along. And then when you get to that certain point, then you can sell them. So you want to provide that value and then ask for their money.
So back to sort of your original point that you made, is really kind of first building value for your audience, making sure that you're able to help them solve a problem, answer a question, realize an opportunity using content. Sort of this concept of reciprocity, where you're giving something of value to them to help them, while they're giving you information, right? And when they give you that information, it helps you to understand that this particular person is interested and finds value in having clean teeth, right? And
Right.
so that's exactly what you do. So that alignment there is extremely valuable. So, I mean, how can a brand position content to not just create a lead, but then to actually move that prospective customer, that lead, to an actual customer?
I mean, very specifically, it's like as much as we're delivering value, and I think that there does have to be an 80-20 rule of like, here's like some value add types of content. You have to make sure that you have a call to action as well. That's like the number one thing that I think a lot of people forget. And make it bold. Do $20 off, whatever your offer might be, $20 off, free consultation, whatever it is. Although, I think that everybody is actually doing free consultations all the time. Like that's like nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, no, give me some money off or whatever it might
Yeah.
be, So I think just being aware that you do actually have to ask them to buy.
Sure. And I think that it's important too to note that as if you are going to offer something that's free, like a consultation, there needs to be some sort of value associated with that so that the people understand what value that is, right? So if it's a free consultation and that's $150 value, you should tell them that we give a free consultation, which is $150 value, right? So that they understand exactly what they're saving by taking that action that you want them to take.
Yeah, and I think to your point of like making sure that it's of value, I think it's important for the audience to understand too, like content isn't just a video, and it's not just like one article or anything like that. Content is still like pieces of paper. It's like
Sure.
if you want to create something custom and they actually come in for the consultation, give them something back with their name and their custom profile on it so that they know that, and it goes home with them. You know what
Sure.
I mean? That is also a piece of content for them.
Totally. Building value for audience.
Exactly.
And that's really what it comes down to. What I've sort of gathered and what our viewer and what our listener should gather from this is creating content is about building value and giving something of value to your audience. Helping them solve a problem, helping them realize an opportunity, answer a question, a silver bullet, if you will. Not necessarily the whole piece to the pie,
Yeah.
right? But something that can kind of help them to kind of progress down that path.
By the way, sometimes it's not a bad idea to give the whole pie. Like, if you actually told your patient how to do a root canal by themselves, you think they're going to go do it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would want to be drilling on my own mouth there. Well, fantastic stuff, guys. To our listener, I hope that you were able to find value in the first episode of The Production Room. We thank you so much for joining us. This has been an episode of The Production Room, brought to you by Replay, a collective marketing agency. My name is Sam Smith, your host and the head of growth operations here at Replay. And until next time, keep growing. Don't ever stop. Don't ever, ever stop.